Hello, Beth. Nancy, what's happening?
Well, I'm good. It's
Excellent.
great. I'm in full on summer mode and do you remember last summer was not good for me? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. So this summer is excellent. I'm in full on embracing everything. It's awesome. But I have a quick story about something I did for my work life blending. Do you want to hear it?
Please.
So it was 4th of July week, a couple weeks ago by the time everybody's hearing this. And I don't know, does this happen to you when all day your phone is blowing up with texts? Does that ever happen to you? Like all day?
Nonstop, boxer, text, the whole thing. Just
Yeah. And there really isn't an out of office for text. There is, which is what I did. So here's what I did, Podsters and Beth. I put my driving, do not disturb. I'm driving. I put it on. You can manually put that on your phone.
Yeah.
And then I changed the outgoing message. And the outgoing message was, hey there, I'm away from my phone until after the holiday. I'll respond to your text at that time. It was like an out of office for your text. The challenge is if you put your do not disturb on your phone, on your iPhone, if it's an iPhone, you can't use it, which is interesting. It thinks you're driving and it'll lock you out. Anyway, I did that and it was great because people were like, oh, great. She's not available to chat right now. If I hadn't done that, do you know how many people would have been like, hey, did you get my text? I texted you this morning. Did you not get it? What do you do? And nothing was that important. Nothing.
I agree. And I think it's interesting that because people send a text, they assume that you are seeing it immediately.
Right.
You answer them right away. And that's not how it works, right? But we want that instant gratification, I think. And we want to know. And when someone's not answering us, we're like, what are they doing? Why are they answering me? Something more important? It's almost like a side, like part of.
There's this whole thing that goes on. Are they mad at me? It's like, are they talking to someone else? What's going on? Anyway, it was great. The only caveat was, and if anybody knows how to do this, please let me know, that I was, so I was in essence locking my phone every time I did that. And I didn't necessarily not want to use my phone. I didn't want to be required to respond to text. The other piece of that is I didn't have to do that. I could have just not responded to texts.
Well,
but that would have had a ripple effect heard around the world, I'm sure.
yes.
Yeah. So Podsters, try the out of office or the out of away from your phone. I loved it. Or maybe it's not an issue for you. Maybe you can just turn your phone off. But for me, I felt the need to declare to the world that I was not on my phone for a couple days. Anyway, it was great. So we're back. What are we talking about today, Beth? I like the way you said it. I like the way you said it.
Oh my gosh. We're talking about calm down with the panic over AI, specifically Chat GPT. Calm down, people. The FOMO. And I like what you said. It's a trend du jour.
I believe it's a trend du jour.
Yeah. And it's crazy. My inbox has been flooded with blogs and emails about, just about be careful using it. And, you can't copy and paste. And, just in this panic mode. And I think we all need to take a step back and take a breath and really look at what the issue is.
Totally agree. I totally agree. And when I say it's a trend du jour, I mean all the hype about it is a trend du jour. Because I was thinking about my dad when computers first came out. He would not get on a computer. He's like, no. Well, we see what happened there. But anyway, so I think it's here and it's here to stay. But I think it's interesting because everything I read about it, because Podsters, we read up on things topics to try to get ourselves educated. Everything I was reading was from it. The search I put in was, how is AI affecting job security? Because that's what everybody's torqued up about, or most people are torqued up about. Well, that and security, but we'll talk about that in a sec. But anyway, and all the articles I read were 10 years old. So AI has been around for forever. AI is that person that I tell her to do things and she does them, called Alexa. Actually, my Alexa is a man's voice, but anyway, because screw the patriarchy. Why did they assume it was going to be a woman that was going to be answering all your questions and doing all your things for you? Okay. Sidebar on that. Anyway, it's been around forever. It's been around with the invention of that and other things. But anyway, so why is this hot for you, Beth?
So it's hot for me because as a writer, there is that question of, are people going to use Chat GPT to produce content? And so I have definitely read things that other writers have sent or posted, anybody who's doing any sort of content generation. So if you are a digital marketer or somebody who's doing social media, it's an issue. However, it's an issue if you're not really clear on how strong your brand is. And this is something, I've been saying for a long time, that you have to be able to speak differently than everyone else in your market, in your industry, to stand out. You have to do it. And now more than ever, because, people can be using Chat GPT specifically or other forms of AI that are like Chat GPT. Also photographers, there are images being created, and that you mentioned it to me that there are, it's voices. They can, copy voices and then send threatening phone calls to people. And that's really scary. But no matter what comes out, there's always a small percentage, I think it seems larger than it is, of people who are going to use it in the wrong way. But most people will use it in the right way. And anybody can choose to use it or not. And I think that's the point. If you're in a tizzy about it, you don't have to use it. You can survive without using it. Just like if you're on social media, you choose platforms. I don't want to do this platform. That's too much work for me, but I like to do this platform. And I think you can choose that with Chat GPT.
I totally agree. And I think when this first came out, so this was a while ago, this was in the winter. Because I remember I was at brunch with my friend and she was telling me about it, and she uses it to save time. So I'm like, I'm going to give it a try. And I went into ChatGPT and I said, write me a description for a women in sales workshop. I think that's what I said. Nope. Write me a description for a workshop about confidence in sales, because confidence impacts outcomes. We know this. I have a workshop called Women in Sales, and it's a confidence workshop for sales. Anyway. And it spit back 3 paragraphs that were fine. They're fine. Couldn't use them because they were very vanilla. And I understand that there's points of views that are saying that you could, let's say this first vanilla version came back, I could say, now make it more funny, or now make it more aggressive, or whatever. My point is, I can't say to ChatGPT, now make this more Nancy. Now make this more on brand. And I want to read a couple of the things it came back with, right? So accurate, but vanilla. Don't let fear, this is what AI said, don't let fear and self-doubt hold you back any longer. Sign up for our confidence and sales success workshop and start closing deals with confidence. Is that how I talk?
No.
Right? So I'm like, okay, well, I have to rewrite this now. And I was using it too with recording meetings for a while, and I had to go back in and fix it. So I think my point is, A, it's been around forever. B, if you don't add more value in what you're doing than an automated response to a request, then that's a very different conversation. Then you should be worried. But if you are, which we know our podsters are, stepping into your strengths, infusing your personality in what you're doing, and bringing your brand. And I'm gonna wrap this up and then turn it back over to you, because I know you're passionate about this. Bringing your brand and your personality to your writing or your sales proposals or whatever the case may be, then use it for what you can and move on. Like, I haven't used it since then. I'm like, it's not worth my time. Thoughts?
Yes, I think that's a key thing, is it going to really save you time? And, I know there are a lot of people who don't want to write, and I'm going to talk about the writing aspect because that's what I do. And I find that first, here's a problem. People don't necessarily take the time they need to dive deeper, go a level deeper to really define their messaging. to really make it authentic.
100%.
It really takes time. And sometimes in the beginning, you can't come up with that messaging. You have to wait until you've had some hands-on before you dive into that and really find your true messaging. But, if you have that, why would you trust ChatGPT to write something and then you have all this wonderful branding, but you don't want to spend the time? But in the end, it's going to take time. And here's a myth that people run into. Sometimes people will say to me, does editing my website content cost the same as writing it fresh? And I said, yes, technically it should cost more.
It should cost more. I agree.
It's really hard for me to go into something you wrote and take it apart and add new messaging. It's really hard. It's much easier to start from scratch. And so I feel like, and then for me, I'm not really worried about AI. I mean, I almost feel like people are treating it like, apocalypse incoming. It's not. It's, if I work with a client, it's because they're delegating to me and they don't want to do it at all. So they definitely don't want to learn about ChatGPT and take, have the learning curve and then have to go in and edit whatever it produces and worry that ChatGPT is having an overloaded day and might spit out some incorrect information. I mean, computers are great. Anything computerized is great until it doesn't work.
Right.
And there is going to be moments. It's not a cure-all. It's not perfect. It's not a guarantee. So you have to think about that. If it isn't right for you, look at all the angles, not just, oh my gosh, everyone's using it, so I think that I need to be using it and I don't know how.
Totally. And as you were talking, what I was thinking was your value is, so a copywriter's value, or somebody that you hire to write copy for you as a business owner or a marketer, or to help you with your resume or your LinkedIn, whatever the case may be. First of all, faster is not always better, first of all. And if you could do it without professional help, you would. So AI is just more of you throwing spaghetti against the wall and trying to see what sticks. So like I said, I tried it, and listen, I could spend more time trying it, but it didn't work, and it didn't work for me on multiple occasions because it is way too vanilla. And, I'm the opposite of a butt writing my podcast episode, recaps, writing my website. No way would I do that. No way. Nope.
Yeah. I will say what was I in? I was in Loom. I had done a video and Loom populated a description for me and a title. So that was helpful. I still had to go in and edit the description because it was much longer than what I would have written. And I changed the title, but it was a great place to start. And to be honest, it reminded me of what I just spoke about on the video. And I didn't have to trying to make notes or go back and re-listen or anything like that. So I found that helpful. I feel like in places like that, it's very helpful and where it's showing up in platforms like I use ClickUp. I know ClickUp now has some sort of ChatGPT. I have not used it yet. I'm lucky I know how to use ClickUp, let alone now how to use ChatGPT in ClickUp. But AI is showing up in places like that, which I find helpful for me.
Totally. I totally agree. So I say faster is not always better. I also say if it saves you time, that's great. But it depends on what you're using it for. The other thing I wanted to mention was, as I was looking through all these articles, I was like, this has been around for, somebody told me the other day that, you can say to AI or ChatGPT or whoever, or whatever, actually, you can say, I have string beans, garlic, tomatoes, and chicken stock. What should I make? Right. And it will tell you, here's all the different things you can make. That's been around forever. You've been able to do that since Google. I mean, so it's like, I don't know. I think that if you're that worried about it, then you're probably worried about something else.
Right. Either that or you have a lot of time that you can be worrying about ChatGPT and what it might or might not do.
Right. And, yeah. The other thing I do find a little scary, and I talked to Danny about this actually. So what he told me was this, I don't even want to call it AI, this technology can replicate your voice, and it will replicate your voice and then call a loved one and pretend to be you. Like, I was in an accident. I need $10,000 sent to whoever, whatever. But it's working. And so they can take your voice, replicate your voice, and then add in like intonations, like pauses and exasperation and stuff like that. So I was like, and so these scams have been going on forever, but they're even better now because they're really honing in on your voice. So he and I came up with, okay, what's our code word? If it's really us, what are we going to say? Of course, now I can't remember what it was. And if I was really in an accident, I wouldn't have the wherewithal to know what the code word was, but okay, whatever. If I'm kidnapped and somebody calls Danny and says, give me $10,000, first of all, depending on the day, he may or may not come get me right away. He might just let me be kidnapped for a few days. But my point is, the bad people are doing bad things with it. And that I think we need to be very aware of. That I think we need to be very aware of with phishing scams and voice scams and stuff like that. And tell the older people in your life, don't automatically assume it's me. It might be one of these things. But anyway, that remains to be seen. That's the bad people. And that's what comes with technology, right?
Yes, absolutely. That you need diligent awareness or you shouldn't be on technology, right? It's like birth control. It's like birth control for technology. You got to be aware and diligent, not just believe everything you hear.
Okay, great. All right.
How was that for an analogy?
We're going with it. We're going with it here on Unmute Yourself podcast.
You have to protect yourself by being aware.
Totally. So what would you say for people who are in business for themselves, who are afraid that AI is going to replace them or make them obsolete?
Well, so here's the thing, right? You have to think about, you're not the only person necessarily searching for what you're searching for when you're looking to create content through AI. You have to think about, if 1,000 people put in a similar request, somewhere in there is similarity, and
right.
Similarity is the enemy of authenticity.
Oh, I'm writing that down, folks.
Oh,
similarity.
Similarity is the enemy of authenticity. You heard it here, folks, on the podcast.
Digging that one, man. Digging that one. Right.
So we don't want to be similar. We don't want to be similar. That's why we have brands.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Woof. All right. We talked about a call to action for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think, like, for me, I say find a positive article about it or two. Find, an article or two that say, I don't like AI for this because it's not for everybody, but do your own research. Be an observer for a moment and ask yourself, is this person writing pro AI because they're getting a kickback, or it's an affiliate, or they're super techie and that's what they're into? Is somebody writing, a negative take on AI because they're afraid of it, because they don't have, they're not technologically skilled, right? And they just see it as like something bad and they don't want to deal with it. And then you make a decision for you.
Totally. I totally agree. Yeah. I think it's awesome. The only thing I would add is, if you're worried about it, if you're really worried about it, I would be worried about how you're showing up.
Yeah.
And if I'm wrong, if I'm way off base, and one of our podsters is listening to this and saying, "No, Nancy, you're out of touch. You don't understand." Educate me, because maybe it's not that simple, but I truly believe it's that simple. I truly believe it's that simple.
Right.
Cool beans, man.
Right.
All right. What do you got going on? Anything?
Well, do you know, personally, I have my kid's bridal shower in a few days.
Fun.
Yeah. We'll see how fun it is. It's a lot of planning. No, it'll be a great time. And we're really thrilled to be doing it for her. Business-wise, got that website thing going on, so that'll be great. Got
Yep.
that Facebook group, better content right now.
Mhm.
Jump in, get some good content about how do you not be similar in your content writing? How do you show your authenticity there? What about you?
Yes.
What about you, Nance?
Doors are open for the Do the Thing retreat happening in Cape Cod in October of this year. 2.5 days of intense, focused workshops, 2 nights lodging, a private chef, yoga optional every day, beach or woods walks every day. It's the perfect place to take a step out, focus on yourself, and come out with your playbook on how to do the thing, whatever that thing might be. So I am super pumped for that. We only have 9 spots. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be really awesome. It's going to be really awesome.
Sounds fantastic. Sounds
it's
really
going to be great. It's going to be great. So that's in the show notes too. And I'm going to go back to enjoying my summer. I am summered up.
All right.
Okay. Peace out.
Peace out.
Peace out.